So normally when I record these types of videos, I try to filter myself because I don't want to offend anyone. But I just feel so led to just like be so real because I feel like there's perhaps other girls who feel the same way. So this is me being like very real, and I'm just gonna share how I feel and what I've been noticing. So the last couple of months, this has been something that has been brought to my attention, and it is how concerning it is for me as a woman who loves Jesus to see very rarely a man who loves Jesus walking fully in his masculinity. Why is it that I am getting pursued more by a man's who never goes to church, never reads his Bible? I'm getting pursued and asked out more by that kind of man than the guy who goes to church, the guy who reads his Bible. Why is it that like that's who's pursuing me? It's not men who are like going to church. And like I've been asking my friends and I'm like, girls, are you experiencing the same thing? And they're like, yeah, these guys aren't asking anyone out. They're not asking any girls out. Okay, on top of that, like that's super concerning. But also like some of these guys who are in the world, like they are working harder than the guys that I see go to church. It doesn't mean that they need to be making more money. It's just like they're actually like having aspirations, having goals, like having vision for their life.
So basically what she's saying is that she wants a believer with the same attributes as some of the men that she sees that's not in church. And there is an imbalance because usually it's guys that may not focus as much on church and on God and more or less on a purpose, but they may be missing that element of spirituality. You know what I'm saying? But then on the flip side of that, the guys that are, in the spirituality, they may not necessarily be focused on anything that's motivational to them because the only thing that they care about is God, right? And the word says that you have to have temperance in all things. And usually when you are around people in any environment, you start to attract yourself to them. And so what women are now complaining about, which there's a lot of different factors, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of y'all are going to say some stuff inside of the comments. What women are starting to complain about is the very thing in a lot of ways that they created, right? And you can't blame anything on anybody because everybody is their own individual. But church has become less attractive to people that are motivated to do great things. And then maybe they'll find Jesus afterwards. Or maybe they don't have as much time to spend in church. Whereas there's also a level of femininity that is inside of the church that overwhelms the church. And if you're not the pastor, if you're not a preacher, usually if you look in the pews, there are majority women inside of the pews unless it's a man that's already in a relationship or married, and then he may be taking his family or he may be taking his woman to church. But very rarely nowadays do I hear women or people say that they met in church. And if they did, then it may not necessarily be the ideal situation as far as what a woman is communicating. Let's hear some more of what she got to say.
Whereas like some of the guys at church literally like they don't work hard. They don't want to work hard. They're literally just like vibing with the spirit. It's just crazy to me that I have seen more guys who are not in the church acting more like men than the guys that I see who go to church and who read their Bible. And I just feel like that is really out of order. I want the men that I see go to church, the men that I go to church with, I want to see those men be more manly and more masculine than the men in the world. Like I want to see them pursuing women.
I get it. I don't see nothing wrong with it.
More than the guys in the world. Like why is it that us girls, us women of God, are getting pursued more by guys who don't even ever go to church? And that doesn't make it easy for us to like be with a guy who loves God when like we're getting pursued and asked out by guys who don't really love God.
Because then you won't be equally yoked because you'll be on two different spiritual journeys.
Open to it. I don't know. I just genuinely think that this is out of order, and I want to see the godly men like truly step into their manhood and masculinity and like want to provide, but not only want to provide, but like want to pursue and like go after what they want, you know? So anyway, I actually really hope that this only hits the girls, but it actually might hit a few guys. And this is just for you to know that like us as...
Why would she only want it to hit the girls? If the guys are the ones that she's speaking to because there's a lack of masculinity, I think that this is a good conversation to have. This is one of the rare situations where somebody presented information or they gave their opinion, especially women, because women be totally off their rocker nowadays. But this is one of the rare situations where I think that it can foster good conversation because why aren't more men? And please listen, I'm gonna play the rest of this video because I want to hear the rest of what she has to say. But please miss me with the idea, well, the church is this or the church is that. Okay, listen, I get it. Your journey with God, your desire for spirituality and finding a church home has no limits. You know, I got a dope church home. Matter of fact, it's a couple different places that I like to visit. Occasionally, I like to visit in this other place too. But the place that I like to visit and that I want to actually go and fellowship with people at is unique, and I went to a couple different churches, aside from my childhood church home. I went to a couple different churches and eventually I found the people that I like spending the majority of my time around, right? So when we think about that and we start to have that conversation, I don't think that we can make an excuse to say, well, the black church or the white church or whatever. Nah, more young people more than before are seeking God or seeking spirituality. And I think that there's a thirst, a hunger for being saved and giving their life over to God and all of that stuff. And so this is not the conversation where I'm condemning anybody or where I'm saying that, well, you live your life like this and so you can't be. Nah. Find your way regardless. I don't care what your current circumstance is. It's not about coming already together. It's not about coming already to complete. You got to go and find your way into the spaces that's ideal for what spirituality represents and what you're looking for, because everybody is in a different place at a different time based off of where they are in their life. You know what I'm saying? Don't go your whole life without God. Let me hear the rest of what she got to say really quickly.
Women of God, we want to be going on dates with guys who love the Lord. Like we really do. We do. And so, yeah, we want you to step up in your manhood and in your masculinity. Like we fully support that.
I don't see anything wrong with what she's saying. I do think that in the church in general, for a lot of the churches that I visit, there is a prototype of different people that are in that church in particular. And to be honest with you, a man that is in his masculinity that goes into a church, if you really want to get a good girl and you go into a specific church and you living in your masculinity, there will be no shortage of options, nor will there be any shortage of motion. It's just like any other environment and any other situation. You walk in, you're going to be top dog. If you got a level of masculinity and you're a hustler and you go in and get it and you care about yourself and you halfway decent, that's why I find it funny when people act like, oh man, it ain't the dating pool is this, the dating pool is that. No, it depends on where you go. It depends on what you're looking for. If you just looking for somebody as a situationship, or you looking for a jump off, or you looking for a quick chick, then yeah, you know what I'm saying? I think that it will be difficult for you. But to say that there aren't any or that there's a lack of, it depends on where you are in your life. And I can understand if women say that there's a lack of, but there is no shortage of guys or shortage of options for men that are in those spaces that are looking for a wife. And I think it's a good conversation to have. I think I'm going to introduce it into a panel conversation next week on Room 9 After Hours. Let me know what you guys think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off of life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.